Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the November 9th Ahrb meeting. Let's see, we have, here's our agenda. We're going to begin with 100 Main Street, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make an announcement before we begin. Items 2 and 3 called in and said they will not be showing up tonight and are requesting continuances to the next meeting.
Okay.
So anybody interested in those two will not be heard tonight.
And everyone knows that the meeting has been postponed to the 30th.
Okay, and one other thing that I'll just mention before we forget about it. Our next meeting, which is scheduled for, I believe that's the week of Thanksgiving, we're postponing to the following Monday. So the weekend, the Monday after it, that's the 30th.
Change is on the agenda and has been made on the village calendar.
And I think in general, we're going forward, attempt to schedule our time so that when it does fall in a week like that, we'll postpone it to the next, or if one of us is taking a trip, we'll try to accommodate, the lack of the extra members and the, sometimes tricky schedule around the holidays, so see what we can do. But Patty, please, I don't want to.
Patty Sexton, Gotham Design, Community Development, regarding 100 Main. We've made a change since the last time we were here, which was we eliminated Mansard roof, we dropped some things down, simplified the lines, which I think is, I'm hoping is consistent with what we were thinking. I want to make it clear, we are now formal on this. We made the building permit application, but we're not asking you to make a decision this tonight on the details. I don't think we can do that yet. I know they've planned to change the rules, but they haven't changed them yet. So my understanding is until the board of trustees makes that change, we have to have site plan approval before we can have the Ahrb make its final decision, but I think that still works fine. So all we really need tonight is, I'm certainly interested in hearing any ideas you have of any changes. But the main thing we need is just a recommendation to the trustees in terms of what the massing is. The planning board has made their decision. They've referred this to the board of trustees without a typical recommendation for approval. They've basically said if this is to be approved by the board of trustees, they make a series of recommendations, one of which was to eliminate the top floor on the center tower. Unfortunately, that makes the project not viable, so it would be silly for me to get approvals for something that's not going to happen. It doesn't mean that the board of trustees can't deny it, and if that's what they choose to do, that's what they do. But we're just trying to bring it to conclusion, and I think there's a difference of opinion between this board and the board of trustees, the planning board. So if we can just move ahead with whatever you want to do, that would be helpful.
I think my general impression is that this has come a very long way, and I see the kind of beginnings of a harmonious intervention given the number of units and the site and configuration and maintaining this barn. And so I do see some issues that I think we actually all share. Most importantly, how you're articulating the windows. There's some smaller windows along this courtyard facade, and I think there's you could look at a window array along the top floor that could be more successful. The play, there's a lot of planes and they all change materials. There may be a way to simplify this, and also again in a way that speaks to this very clear and simple, austere geometry, and I think there's a kind of nice thing to that. So those are a few elements that I believe that if you work through it to this degree, that we can work through as we move forward. So I am kind of pleasantly surprised to see this at a place where, you know, that we've been pushing for and we've been sometimes pushing against and sometimes working towards. And
Yeah.
so I think this is headed in the right direction.
Well, I think that sounds great.
It's an improvement. Thank you.
The only few things that I want to say,
Yeah.
like to say is that just consistent with what we composed, the letter that was of recommendation by the planning board, I think that a lot of the things, a lot of the points that were raised at that letter were now finally working out.
Yeah. Well, we're now fully compliant with all of those, so.
Let's say that I think the relationship with the aqueduct, thanks to the respecting the character of the barn, is kept. So I appreciate that. The simplification of scheme is already working. The roof lines are at least consistent, and there is a coherence, overall coherence that works. And I agreed with Michael about the working out the fenestration,
Windows and siding.
wing materials, but that I think is we can, you know, when this goes to the next phase.
Makes sense.
But overall, I respect the effort to maintain the relationship with the aqueduct as close as is now, and that's pretty much, I guess we're getting close to it.
No comments?
I agree with both of them, and as I said, it's an improvement.
Yes.
So,
Well, you remember, there's only 3 members, so all 3 of them have to think. It doesn't do me any good to get, 2/3 of the board. So if you're in agreement, I think that sounds good. Now, will you draft anything, or just let the minutes basically reflect what this is? I don't know if the board of trustees needs to know anything as a formal thing, but they need to know that you've, moved it on and recommended that they give consideration to it.
We can issue a memo.
I'm happy to just issue a memo. I think that's probably the simplest solution. That way there's some documentation.
Yeah.
I assume some of them watch these meetings, maybe they're too boring for the board of
The thing
trustees.
is, I don't know if you probably have to make a show to show this.
Oh, we'll have to, we have to almost start from scratch with the board of trustees.
For the neighbors.
Well, when we go to the board of trustees, we'll have a public hearing, and at that point, we'll be showing everything.
I'm saying now to, it's up to you. I mean,
It's not
just
really-
because the comments that we're making are related
Yeah.
to these drawings, and probably if someone wants to see.
Yeah, well, they're gonna be in the village hall, and I'll give them to anybody in the world that wants to see them.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, please. Would you come take the microphone, please?
My name is Judith Doolin Spikes, and I live at 5 Grace Terrace. I came here tonight thinking that I would learn something, but nothing was shown to us. And maybe I've suddenly lost my hearing, but I couldn't hear most of what was said. I get the drift that you're going to approve the massing, as you were asked to do, so that we go before the Board of Trustees. But other than that, I really don't know what was said.
Sure, just for the benefit of yourself and everyone else, maybe the microphone didn't pick up. We did receive some new drawings from the applicant. We are generally in support of what we're seeing. However, I think all of us concur that there are some elements that we feel are still lacking, particularly the windows. So we're looking at a north elevation that we'd like to have, ask Patty to revisit in some sense. And that would, in addition to the windows, also some of the materials on that elevation. And I think he can take that kind of criticism, that we can be very specific as we later on down the road. We don't want to ask him to revise these plans if, in fact, he's going to get a denial from the Board of Trustees. So if the question is, we are generally in support of the massing of this as we've seen this new scheme. And that's going to be our recommendation to the Board of Trustees. Now, that's going to mean that there are conflicting recommendations from our board and the planning board. And ultimately, it will be their decision to analyze this thing.
Okay, so I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I think that there is some conflict in our opinions about this project. Our opinions meaning this board and the planning board.
Okay. So it will be decided by the Board of Trustees then?
Correct.
And
then this project will come back to this board and will be reviewed in more detail as we'll look at windows, we'll look at materials, we will look at some play of planes. I don't think that there's any sense that nothing will change besides a Muntin type. You're at a lot of our meetings, it gets much more complicated than that. Even when we have a Board of Trustees massing approval, we still ask applicants to address issues that we see later on that we didn't pick up the first time, or that we just don't agree with the other board. So I think I don't believe that this is in any way the project that will get built. The latest set of drawings, but I do believe that the applicant has taken the right steps to address many of our concerns for the massing.
do I understand that by massing you're bringing whatever height you're looking at there as well as the footprint?
Massing is
That's right,
bulk.
and their relationship to one another. Yeah. That's right.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm next up.
Oh,
Jumping the gun here, huh?
no action to be taken on this application. Or
The action would be to continue because now is an official
It is,
application. And that you will write a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. and
So we'll
this
continue this until the
until
meeting
there's
following a
from the
decision.
Board of Trustees.
And I think as representing the applicant, what we'll agree with is, because we don't know when holidays, how soon the Board of Trustees will put this on their agenda and act on it. So what I would recommend is that we in effect any time limits that are in I don't even know if they exist at this point, but if there are time limits, we're staying those until such
Any time limits are always extended to.
by the process.
To the
Yes.
process that you have to go to another board. And until that board
Yeah.
makes a decision, then your time starts again.
Right. Excellent. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Continue. All in favor, unanimous. So let me, for 12 Livingston, like to make a motion, we continue this to the next meeting.
I'll second.
Yeah, your seconds, all in favor, unanimous. 122 Judson, motion that we continue this to the next meeting.
Second.
50 seconds, all in favor, unanimous. 9 Fairlawn.
Good evening. My name is Doug Austrian. I live at 109 Belwood Avenue. I'm here for my application, 9 Fairlawn Avenue, Roxbury. What happened with this application was it was approved by your board 10 months ago, and through the process with the customers who were buying a home from me, they had made some site changes where we changed some fence and swap siding, using the same materials, but just different areas and locations. Eliminated the window. And it's in a hard position because I know at the end when I open the occupancy, Mr. Manley does a very thorough job to make sure that the elevations match the drawings. So I figured I'd come now and
Of course, no, and you do this all the time, and I think it looks good. I don't know what the difference between the two is. We're just moving some windows around.
eliminating on the front.
Adding this. Eliminating this.
This is the new,
This is
or no, this is the
This is the exceed
This is the approved.
This is the approved,
I got it, okay.
and those are the notes I made on the changes.
And this is what siding
Was stone.
and now is,
If you
Now it's
see on
wood.
the approved set
Yeah,
around the front door was stone. They've removed 2 windows and added 1,
okay,
and changed some vertical siding to horizontal.
okay.
and Mr. Austin, what is the door? The new door? I see,
The new door is just, I need, I have to see where we go.
Garage door.
the
It doesn't
garage
show.
door.
It's not really called out.
It's still in the process of being picked, it's gonna be, color matched to the hardy plank siding, which is gonna be a gray. You know, very modern look, similar to the one in, 7 Fairlawn we did with the glass.
And what's on the,
It's not called out on
Oh, it's not called out there.
approved either.
So it's to be
You have to
confirmed.
understand, I'm sure you do, but when people build any new home, especially when they start spending a lot of money, they pay a very lot of attention to the details. And it changes, you know, from the time that the original conception is done, and as you build it, it looks different.
you know, I'm asking this question so that you don't have to come back a third time.
Oh, thank you so much.
If you don't have the answer, you don't have the answer, right?
It's a gray door, it's a gray door, it's matched to the hardy plank siding.
So what do you want to do? Do you want me to notate this and so that you don't pick, you
No,
know,
it's fixed.
simplify?
It's fixed. It's gray with the obscure glass.
And it's a wood door?
No, it's actually a metal door insulated. It has a frame that has obscure glass panels in it.
Oh, so it doesn't look like this?
No, I think that was
Just,
Yeah.
just submit it informally to the board, we look at it and we'll make a comment.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, if you show us a door and it looks like one big single plane of something that doesn't have material in it, and then when you describe it, you say it's metal, it's got glass in it, it's got this, it's got that.
Well, no,
I can't, hold on, I can't look at this door and make any kind of assessment at all.
From that drawing, I agree with you 100%.
So if you, and I don't wanna you to sketch it on, you know, I mean, if you need to come back, you need to come back.
If they need to come back just for the garage, I'm happy with
I
that.
think that the
At the
window,
front door.
yeah, the front door, I thought this front door was
The
a,
front door is pretty much as what it is, it's
There's
just plain.
nothing in there.
No, the one that's
Those
on the
are
drawing
mahogany
is
doors.
just a flush door, and so they don't change the color of it.
and it's made of, that's the mahogany, or that's the natural wood looking door that we approved first time. Or
And
we
no,
don't-
and no glass.
There's no
Nothing on the
door,
first,
no
I'm thinking of,
doors.
I must be thinking of next door.
Right.
Okay,
Garage door and the front door aren't called out, they're just shown a space.
you know, I think we need to see, you know, windows and doors are one of the big issues, we just, the previous applicant, we're gonna drive him crazy over the window. Exactly how the window looks, so I think we need to see a window and a door.
Yeah.
How about we do this, if you wouldn't mind, and I'm just making a suggestion. Unfortunately for the people I'm building the house for, her mother had open heart surgery, and they planned to attend tonight, and she's in the middle of having a stroke. I would love to be able to go back with them with some positive news, saying that the windows and sidings are approved, and I'm coming back to the
That's
front.
it, and we are approving what is,
What is-
the drawings are submitted is approved.
Happy to come back.
When you come back, come back with the front door and the garage door
Happy to
specs,
do that.
and that's it.
I mean, here's the thing, this is a good house, we've always liked this house, nobody has any issue with it. But we don't,
Clear.
I understand what you're
we're
saying.
sympathetic to people's, you know, hardships, but we have to treat every application fairly, right? So, we're not gonna issue an approval because someone is having a hard time.
I know.
And so, really, that's not a relevant issue here. So
Okay.
what's relevant is the window changes look fine,
Thank
the
you.
material changes look fine,
Thank you.
and the doors are missing information for us to say anything about. So you can come back, bring us a cut sheet, that's what everybody else does, they bring us the window type, the finish type, they notate it, if there are glass lights in the garage door, they should be represented, and so that, you know, because
I'll bring you cut sheets.
otherwise we can't analyze it.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion, we approve the changes to the window locations and the siding changes we'll see the door when it comes and anything else that comes up.
That's beautiful, I appreciate your help.
Move second, no seconds, unanimous.
Thank you all.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
138 Main Street.
I'm Charles Maston, I'm the owner of 138 Main Street, Nicole, apologies. What we'd like to do is put fencing, matching existing fencing along the sides of the house, along the two sides of the house to create gated entries. This is to allow security to the backyard, so when my boys are in the backyard, they're not going out to the street. Additionally, and that's about 20 linear feet on the sides of the gates. And additionally, in the back, we'd like to replace the 57 feet of linear fencing they have there with the same style of 4-foot tall vinyl white fence with more filled-in bottom section of it. I also had one other thing to submit, which is the returns from the certified mail. I'm sure what you these things.
It's good to me.
Okay.
Any, looks good. Motion we approve as submitted. Yeah, your seconds. Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
12 Maplewood.
Pay the application fee. Yes, you did. Sorry. I'll look for you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, Christine Berman, I'm here to show you two-story additions to this home. It's I guess it's a stucco two type made upstairs. What we're planning to do is to put,
Could you take the microphone with you, please?
we're going to put an extension over this old roof deck. We're going to eliminate the roof deck. We're going to extend this part of the house, add an extension to this bedroom with a porch underneath, and then we're going to add a dormer over here. This is the back of the house where most of the work will be done. This is looking straight at the back. And this is a side view that is, we're trying to keep as is. And in front of the house, we're going to put a small dormer here. All these little extensions will allow us to add a fourth bedroom to the house. And here are the plans. The additions are actually, right here is a small addition, and there's a dormer on each side of this.
Christina, can you use this so I can see?
Yes, yes.
So you don't cover your drawing with it?
Okay. I think it's better if I stand over here, right?
Yeah, so I can see.
Okay, sure. This is the stucco house, and what we're planning to do is put an addition on that's about 9 by 16 feet. And we're adding dormers on top of the garage, and we're also putting a new patio down below. And over here, the shaded area is the old roof deck that is now going to be interior space. This is the plan. On the first floor level, we're adding a porch and a patio. On the second floor level, we're going to do an extension to this bedroom, new master bath, closet area, and extend this space over here so that we can actually add another bedroom. This is a section just showing we have a very steep roof, but the existing rafters come down very low, and over the garage we're going to add a dormer on each side. On one side, this is the east elevation, and on one side we're adding a shed dormer, on the other side we're adding a dormer that is partially shed and partially a gable dormer. And the reason for that is because over here we have to keep away from this window, and we have to make sure that our drainage works, so we're setting this back a little bit more than on the other side. This is the front of the house, and this is the new shed dormer we're adding at the front. And this is the rear of the house. This is showing this is the roof deck's been filled in. We're adding this gable, the dormer here. This is a new addition. We've introduced this arch. These are existing French doors. And these are new windows at the master bedroom. This is a new dormer. And all the windows the intention is that all the windows will match the original windows that are on the house. But because we're reconfiguring everything, then these windows are actually going to be replaced, so they will be egress windows. And I have to mention that after we submitted the drawings to you, we did some research and we found that Anderson Windows can do this simulated heavy muntin in the middle so that they look like two casement windows. And your plans don't show that, because at the time we had priced them out as margin and they're very expensive. And so we decided to go this way because we really want to get that look of the double casement, which is the look of the house.
And when you call it an operable window, how does it function if with that heavy center mullion that imitates a casement?
It's a casement, right?
It is a
It's
casement?
a casement.
Okay, so.
But it's, our options were for egress, either a French casement or a large single casement. And the French casement is like 3 times the price of this. So we end up doing this simulated muntin look where that vertical bar is 2 1/4 inches.
So it's a single casement with
Yes.
the impression, okay. Understood.
This is the side elevation. We're going to set this in a few inches so that we can preserve the original gable look inside of the house.
So facing from Maplewood, all of your addition is on the right-hand side, correct?
Facing Maple,
Yeah,
this is the side of the house facing Maple, and this is the dormer, which is on the left side.
correct, but that's the existing space, and you're just putting the dormer in there.
Yes. This is the front of the house.
Correct. And that's already existing, and you're just adding the dormer there.
Yes.
That's why the sky plane is not an issue, because it's existing?
No, yes, we actually received a variance for this project.
Oh, I see.
But there is a sky plane issue.
There
There
is,
is.
And you received a variance, how? I wasn't aware that,
Setback.
oh, for the setback, I see.
They're continuing, they're extending an existing nonconformity, which is closer to the left side property line, and they received a variance for that.
But
You
not-
need to give a waiver because that portion on the that shed dormer right there, the existing part already broke the sky plane exposure, but now the shed's coming
Correct.
down and still breaking it, so that's new, and that would require a variance of the sky exposure plan.
But the roof line is already existing where it is,
Yes.
and you're just bumping out the new shed dormer. So I
Yes.
understand it's an existing non-conformity.
Correct.
I provided those sky exposure diagrams to the zoning board, and I guess I
I
thought it was a
have one
zoning.
copy here.
Oh, I see.
It's not a zone.
It's not,
It's sky
I should have
exposure.
brought it.
It's not a area variance, it is just all up to the
Oh, okay, I'm so glad you brought that.
decision of the AHRB.
Okay.
So,
And what's the difference between a
So
shed
it's the
dormer?
dormer.
It is the dormer, but this is already
Old ones.
existing here now anyways. That
Go,
roof
well,
line is existing.
there's no
That
difference
line is
between
existing.
heights,
Yeah.
but a dormer less than 7 foot wide is permitted to break the sky exposure plane.
and what's the
I believe
width
that
of your
one's more
door?
than 7 foot wide, correct?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. There's a room here right now, and the roof dives down, and what we're doing by lifting this up, we can get access into this space. If we didn't lift it up all the way, you couldn't get into this closet. And you couldn't use it.
But the 7 foot is, what do you
A
mean?
dormer less than 7 foot or less wide is exempt from sky
Right,
exposure.
right, so how
You know,
much
just,
do we have
this
here?
dormer's wider than that.
It's about 10 feet 6.
The dormer makes it look more attractive, actually. And as you said, it makes it more
It
usable.
has some charm, but in some places, like over the garage,
Yes,
it's sort of lacks
exactly.
charm. I agree. But the real reason for it is to get some more useful space in the house and a little more storage.
I mean, I think the main issue regarding the waiver, or not getting a waiver, is that in order to reduce this dormer, you would have to bring it, right? You would have to do something like this to get under 7 feet. I think this is problematic because then you can't center your window over the garage, and I sort of think that we'd all be a little worse off, mostly the owner and the neighbor and you, not me so much, because I don't know how often I'll see this, but if with this sort of compromised solution to address the sky exposure plane. So I am of the opinion that that a waiver of the sky exposure plane for this dormer is appropriate, but I don't know how my fellow board members feel.
I agree that this dormer works better in
Not intentional.
I agree that the dormer works better in the facade, so, and it's not creating or worsening the sky exposure condition now.
The roof line is existing
The only
anyways.
thing I will make a comment is that the difference in plan, it's about 6 inches. You know, if you see, if you give me the, that. And I see that there is a closet on the corner and there is the corner of the master bathroom. Let me see if how it works. You know, if 6 inches may be look,
Do you think it should be,
maybe a little wider,
1 foot?
maybe,
We can do that.
I think that's a good idea.
because it's 6 inches is
What-
It doesn't have enough meat to it, as you're
That's fine.
saying.
I understand. The reason why this is a shed dormer and this is not is simply because if we didn't do the dormer all the way here, we wouldn't get access. It'd be too low here to put the door here.
I got it.
Yeah, I understand.
That's okay.
Look, it's a minor comment, only if you think it's appropriate.
It's fine. It's giving a little more depth.
Yes,
That's fine. You'll make it.
and then the sky exposure plane will be less of an issue, like 6 inches less of an issue. That's it.
No problem.
But it otherwise, looks good. The only thing is we need to amend the windows, the correct windows that are being proposed in the plans.
Yeah, all materials will match existing. This is the stone we're using for the panel.
Yeah.
The field stone. Thoughts?
So I didn't know that Anderson didn't make a window with a check rail in it. I thought that all the companies made windows with check rails, to mimic the double hung.
You didn't know the Anderson did?
Yeah.
We didn't either. We started with Marvin.
Zone
I know
is okay
Marvin
with the
does,
But
non-conforming.
they do.
It received the variance for the setback, yes.
Now we can make a motion.
Any other comments? So we make a motion that we approve this application with, you're gonna bring in an amended drawing for Ed for the windows, and you're
Are
going,
those window changes on what was sent to me by email this afternoon?
Yes.
so you have them already, great.
I have them in PDF.
Okay, so we can approve that set. Do I have a second?
1 second.
Yeah, your second, unanimous, thank you.
We have to do the recommendation of make it the shed door shorter.
Well, it was a suggestion. Actually, it was, I don't know what it's, yeah, you can improve. I haven't looked at these minutes.
Why don't you review it now?
I didn't
You want
even
to-
know
Next time.
next time.
I'm going to make a motion, we continue the minutes to the next meeting. We have not been able to fully review them. Yeah, your seconds, unanimous, we're gonna continue minutes to the next meeting.
Even the ones you got last time?
Yes.
Yeah, particularly the ones we got last time.
I didn't bring them in.
But we didn't bring our copy, and I'd like to look at them.
Had a chance to.
Motion, we adjourn tonight's meeting. Yeah, your seconds, unanimous.